Let's talk about tests. We want our kids to do well on tests. Yesterday, I had two conversations that you wouldn't think were related, but were. One was with a mother who has a son in third grade, and test prep has been coming up in his school. He goes to a really high performing school, and he's getting stressed about testing. She's realizing that he has some literacy gaps that she wants to close. So she wanted to talk about potentially working together. So she's worried about, how he's going to do on his tests. The other conversation that I had yesterday was with a friend of mine who's a therapist. And she was telling me about this test that I've known about called the Adverse Childhood Experiences Test. And what that is a way for therapists to pretty much gauge what they're working with, right? Like how things are going for the client that they're about to meet with. So when she was telling me about that, she was saying, the usual questions like, did you have enough to eat growing up? Was there violence in the house? And that really, kind of lets therapists understand who's in front of them and what they might work on. One of the questions is, did your parents love you? And she would get a lot of answers like, yeah, my parents loved me. I haven't spoken to them in 6 years, but I know they love me. Or worse, they love me, but they really didn't take care of me when I was a kid, but I know they love me. And so she and several other people in her practice have changed the question to, did your parents delight in you? And it's such a different question. And that question, when you hear a yes or a no, you really understand part of the relationship dynamic that was going on in the house. So when we ask, did your parents delight in you? We know that this child had a grown-up who was on their side, who was looking out for them. And really, like pediatric neurologists, classroom teachers, like everybody who works with kids knows that when kids have an adult who is with them and delights in them, that they are more likely to succeed as an adult. So when we're thinking about test prep, what I really want you to prep for is that test when your, kid is 25 or 30 and talking to a therapist or just talking about their childhood to not a therapist. And they get asked that question, did your parents delight in you? The test that I don't want you to worry so much about is that end of third grade test, end of fourth grade test, which is really to measure how a school is doing, really to measure, kind of what's going on in a classroom, not something that Harvard is looking at, right? Harvard does not care about your fourth graders' tests. And really to think about, is there delight in our relationship? This is for two reasons. One, as I said, every child does need, really to form well. Every child needs an adult who is looking out for them and delights in them. But the second reason is for you. If you can't fake delight, you can't, right? If you are with your kid and you are so present with them that you have these feelings of delight, this deep warmth of being thrilled to be with them, or just seeing them as so hilarious or so silly or so smart or so talented or so creative, seeing the absolute good that is so present for your child, that's so good for you. Think about all of the endorphins that you get and all of the oxytocin that's being released in your brain when you're having that bond and seeing this thing that you raised and cared for and made dinner for and stayed up late with and fought over homework. If you could do all that, then you deserve those feelings of delight as well. So I invite you to think about not just love, but am I delighting in my kid? Am I telling you to spend a half hour more every day worrying about delight? No, please don't worry about delight. But you're hearing this now and this will pop up in your head again and you'll think about delight and you'll look over while you're making dinner and you'll just say wow, you're so cool. You're so funny. You're so sweet. And just really, whatever you're feeling for your kid, let them know and let those feelings of delight come in and wash over you. And I promise it will be so good for both of you. Not just love, but delight.